Well, we're live one last time during the series, and India have comprehensively defeated the visiting Protea side. We've got Jeet and Neha. Welcome, guys. 9:30 तो किसी ने एक्सपेक्ट नहीं किया था मैच खत्म होगा. I myself was taken aback. मैं आराम से 10:30 होगा करके बैठा था. Out of nowhere, Smriti was like, "Okay, let me dish out a few bounties and end the game in a flurry." Jeet, मतलब a very good win for India.
Yeah, good win. It was, I think, 16 for no loss after the first 4 overs. So just like you, I thought each other thoda the drag hoga because it's a slow start and it's not that SRH kind of thing. Just आधा over में खत्म कर दे. Yeah, searching for form, so they are probably taking their time. But like you mentioned, Smriti Mandana just changed the gears so quickly. Like बहुत जल्दी कुछ खत्म हो गया. But I mean, a good series. As this wish start, we would have had a full game in the second T20I, which was set up so nicely because not only did South Africa had runs on the board, but India was still in the game looking at the conditions that were on offer. So because of that, I mean, the series ended as 1-1. Otherwise, भाई कोई एक clear winner तो होता ही था.
यार मेरे को सबसे ज्यादा माय बिगेस्ट रिग्रेट फॉर इन द लास्ट टू T20 इज द फैक्ट कि यार उमा छेत्री को एक बार भी बैटिंग करने को देखने नहीं मिला यार. आई वाज वेटिंग कि आज मिलेगा और यहाँ पे 80 पे ऑल आउट होके आ गए. बट नेहा, दैट डिपार्ट ऑफ कोर्स फॉर इंडिया, वी स्पोकन अबाउट हाउ okay, you weren't a part of the first T20, but in general the thoughts were around ki boss side kaisa hai, Renuka is not doing well, the fielding is all shambles and whatnot. Today they came out like a proper very clinical side.
Certainly, I think having watched the first T20I from the sidelines and the second one which got washed out, I was a little disappointed. Things didn't go in India's favor, and India didn't look like that well-oiled unit that we usually expect them to be. But today was absolutely clinical. Just coming in, restricting South Africa. In fact, skittling them for 84, and then coming back to chase. It just shows the kind of quality that the Indian side possesses. Matlab, I think a lot of people, after that first T20, I had already started raising questions on India's template, which I think was, way too soon and reactionary. But I think it's performances like this that, remind us that this team is looking very good for the Asia Cup and for the World Cup that's coming up. And if they continue to play this brand of cricket, choose the right playing 11, just a few issues here and there to sort out, but more or less, we're looking like a much stronger team than, say, our T20 side from 2023, right? So I think a lot of positives to take from this series, nonetheless.
A lot of positives for sure, and let's have the match summary out as well. India won the toss and once again opted to field first. That way, the rub of the green going India's way. All three T20 I saw India winning the toss and opting to field first. South Africa put into bat this time around. None of their top order really, stayed back, barring Tasman Brits. If I remember correctly, Jeet and I, we'd spoken about how typically she starts off with a 20 ball 18 or वहां से start करती है. Today as well, it was 18 of 20 balls. Unfortunately, she was dismissed just 3 balls later and nothing much came off of it. Tasman Brits, Laura Wolfhard, Marizan Cup, the top three were taken care of in the seventh over, and that was pretty much a game done and dusted there. Although Bosch and de Klerk did seem to threaten कि boss हम लोग कुछ कर सकते हैं वहां पे, and Pooja Vastrakar was like, I'm having none of that. एक ही ओवर काफी था उनके लिए, दोनों को निकाल दिया. Fantastic bowling performance by her. Fantastic bowling by Radha Yadav. A solid spell of 3 for 6. Arundhati Reddy as well. Very good bowling. I know the wickets column might not reflect that entirely, but very good bowling from her as well. There was also that fantastic catch she took down at long on. So all in all, a solid effort from the Indian bowling contingent. With the bat in hand, as clinical as ever, the opening pair was like, boss, हम लोग संभाल लेंगे, tension की बात नहीं है. Started off very slowly. It was also very heartening to see Marizan Cup, and it clearly showed what South Africa had missed all along the tour. In fact, someone like Marizan Cup, had she been available earlier, you never know, probably a win, or they could have eked out a win or more earlier as well. But good to see her. That first over to Smriti was top-notch bowling, moving in, moving out, and you knew that she had sized Smriti up completely. But all in all, South Africa, nothing much to talk about when it comes to today's game. But Neha, just sort of talking about the bowling in particular, we've spoken about how Renuka has not been looking herself for a while now. Arundhati coming up with a performance like this really bodes well for her, given the fact that there's the Asia Cup, then the World Cup as well.
Definitely, I think this performance has given her a world of confidence, and for a lot of us fans and experts as well, right, to kind of gauge her performance. Because with the Asia Cup coming up, you need all your players, standing up and delivering. The way she has been bowling in this series, not just the T20 highlight, but even in the ODIs, has been quite remarkable in that sense. And also when you look at the bowling unit, at large, you have of course Radha Yadav, right? I mean, just carrying on her form from the WPL to that Bangladesh series and now here, I think she's such a unique proposition and commodity in this league, and she's a beast in T20 as that. I mean, her numbers certainly, will get better as the time comes, but she will be a very important component, when we go to that World Cup as well. And even Pooja Vastrakar, right? The way she bowled today, getting those remarkable wickets, amazing line and length. And at one point, I think South Africa had just given up. They were like, we just can't bear the brunt of this bowling. So I think her bowling well is also, very positive signs for us. With Renuka also not bowling, it is a little concerning. And I think with Tita Sadhu as well, we're still thinking where do we kind of get her in. I don't think they're going to play her for the World Cup unless Asia Cup may some injuries happen and something very unfortunate happens. But all in all, I think India will be pleased with this bowling performance, but will also have to keep the lessons of that first T20I and the second one with them.
For sure. That way, again, Jeet, in terms of Arundhati's bowling performance itself, she's looked in great control with the ball in hand. I know there was the odd ball slipping down the leg and whatnot, but still, again, relative to Renuka, she seems to be the better package, good on the field, and not to forget, she also offers some value with the bat as well at number 9, number 10, wherever necessary. Uh, Also, there was that I don't know if you guys watched the game live. Like, I, for a change, decided कि बहुत थोड़ा commentary सुनते हैं. Wobble seam को उन्होंने बोल दिया कि अच्छा seam presentation. I don't know if you guys caught that, but again, adds a different value and also very good face coverage given that she also bowls at the death. We've seen her Yorkers in the WPL as well. So all in all, happy with what she's sort of offered to the side.
Yeah, I mean, a great scene presentation of the wobble scene, like you mentioned. It's something even I noted. But it's like we mentioned after the first T20, where at least to me the plans look very, very clear cut with Pooja Vastrakar and Renuka Singh both bowling wobble seam right from the get go. So at that point in time, I was thinking that if wobble seam he karana, if that's your tactic, then why is Renuka bowling wobble seam at 97, 98 Ks? Why not make Arundhati Reddy do that? Because she's a little bit quicker than Renuka. And that is exactly what she did in the second T20 and even tonight. And it seemed to work really well. So not only the balls were cutting back in at times, but one of the dismissals where it moved away from the batter, that also was, who was it? Was it Nadine de Klerk who chopped it on?
Yep,
I forgot
that's
who the
right.
batter was. Yeah.
Nadine de
So
Klerk.
again, that wobble theme was working perfectly. So that's the thing with Arundhati Reddy. You'll get better control and you don't need to rely on the conditions, which is something that's a factor with Renuka Singh. So I feel Renuka Singh was definitely left out on the side despite being fit because I could see her in the dressing room with the substitutes before. So I think she was also to go, but it was purely India trying out Arundhati Reddy and understanding that the conditions over here in Chennai have been very different throughout the series or throughout the tour. So someone like Renuka Singh is not really going to work out so well over here because the conditions don't suit her. So they went ahead with Arundhati Reddy, and I'm happy that she got that game time and she was able to show how effective she could be on these kind of tracks. So fantastic to see that. It's just that leading up to the Asia Cup or even potentially the T20 World Cup, whether India go back to Renuka Singh or not, I personally feel they will because again, Wapar conditions at times are different. They do move around. The ball does move around a lot in the power play. So we might as well see Renuka Singh coming back into the 11 for Arundhati. But giving this game time is important so that our backups or the reserves also have that behind the back in case they are required at some stage in the future.
Fair points, those. In fact, even with Pooja Vastrakar, the ball that she bowled to Anneke Bosch, if I'm not wrong, cut back in. Of course, she also nicely shuffled down and she was caught plumb in front of the stumps. But Neha, Jeet made a very good point about how it's also important that our backups are also up and running. They are also sort of match ready that way. We know that the 11 more or less is settled. I don't think we'll see too many changes. But we cannot sort of dispute the fact that there still holes. There are holes, but at the same time we have a sort of settled 11 क्योंकि कोई है नहीं जिसको हम निकाल के replace कर सकते हैं. The only option being Renuka Singh Thakur that way, something we spoke about. If it's a very spin friendly surface, then probably you might add a spinner, or at the very least you might probably go to another pacer, which is Arundhati Reddy. But barring that, again, all in all, the 11 is more or less going to be this, right?
Yeah, I think the nucleus of the team will largely remain the same. We are seeing this trend, like at least through the first. I think this was an unchanged playing 11 itself by itself, right? So in that sense, I think India does look settled, but there are still a few areas that like especially in the batting department, that I felt would have given us some clarity probably in that second T20, but it didn't happen. So the number three slot, right? That for me is a little contentious. I mean, Dylan Hemlata has done decently well, especially in that Bangladesh series. But here, not giving me a lot of confidence. So perhaps that Asia Cup will be a big acid test for her to see how she can get through that phase. Then Harman coming in at 4 and Jenny at 5 also I think seems like a reasonable thing. But I think in that first T20 as well, right? The run chase का मुझे logic ही समझ में नहीं आ रहा था. The way Harman was, kind of constructing her innings at one point, I was like, I wish she could just, probably throw her wicket away so Richa could come in. So I'm just thinking, if probably we could shuffle that batting order a little, but I don't think that is quite possible, right? Because Harman has pretty much taken that number 4 slot. So you will have your finishers coming in at 6 and 7. But yeah, just to answer your question, I think India's playing 11 does look settled, but somewhere even inconsistencies with the bowling, that first T20 where we went for a good number of runs, that was kind of concerning because imagine chasing those totals in Bangladesh. You're countering like teams which have good spin attacks as well, so that might be concerning. All in all, yeah, I think it's looking good.
But again, sort of sticking to that number 3 slot, Jeet, we'd spoken about how in the second T20I there were a host of changes, 4 in total. Umar Chetri, of course, coming in for the injured Richa Ghosh, which sort of also forced their hand ki boss. They had to get rid of Dailan Himlata. Nahi to Jemmy, Harman, all of them would have to go, would have to play one spot lower, or Umar Chetri would have to play as their designated finisher. Neither of which would have been ideal for them. Given that Umar Chetri has not gotten any chance to sort of, give a good account of herself, do you think India will stick to Hemlata assuming Yastika remains unfit? Because again, Asia Cup squad to aa gaya, wahan pe to Hemlata hi hogi shayad se.
Yeah, I do believe so. Especially with Richa Ghosh, assuming that she's going to be fit enough for the Asia Cup, she's straight away going to slot in for Umar Chetri, which means Dal Hemlata has to bat at 3. What we didn't get to sadly watch in the second T20 or tonight is who walks in number 3, because I personally was expecting Jemima to walk in at number 3. But sadly, I mean, the second game, India didn't get to bat, and tonight, not a single wicket is lost, so we didn't get to see that. But realistically, I do believe I think they might stick to Hemlata at number 3. 4, 5, and the remaining batting order is going to remain the same. A potential change could also come in place of Amanjot Kaur, who, if fit, could slot into our T20 World Cup 11 for Sachi and Sanchna. But besides that, I don't see many changes. Again, there is going to be a direct shootout between, say, Renuka Singh and Arundhati Reddy, a direct shootout between Shriyanka Patil and Asha Shobna. What team goes ahead with is something we don't know. Because, I mean, I personally like Asha Shobna. I personally also believe at the same time that Shriyanka Patil is a must-have in the T20 format of the game for India. But it becomes a very matchup-oriented thing or a very opponent-oriented thing and where we are playing. Because I think our group stage is at Sylhet. Now, that is one of the better tracks to bat on. So, I mean, these kind of things also need to be factored in. So, at the end of the day, we're not sure as to what the exact 11 would look like. From what the 11 that we have fielded, maybe the second game or third game, there will be a few changes here and there. But besides that, I think most of the core areas are well set. And not to forget that the good thing with the 11 that we've had is that all the 11 batters can bat. Literally batting depth right till number 11. So when Renuka comes in, we are not going to have that. But it doesn't matter. It should be number 10 tak hoga. So I think it's a great 11 that we've got, good options that we've got, and fantastic batting depth to match all of it.
So again, just to sort of close the argument or close the conversation out, should Yastika, I mean, Yastika isn't a part of the Asia Cup, so we can sort of say with a certain degree of confirmation ki boss, it is going to be Hemlata batting at number 3. Sajna and Uma Chetri will go out for Richa Ghosh and Hemlata to begin with. Uske baad bowling mein, like Jeet mentioned, there are matchup oriented calls that the management can sort of decide. But come the World Cup, given that no games are scheduled, at least as far as the Indian women's team is concerned, no games are scheduled between the Asia Cup and the World Cup. The India-New Zealand series that was supposed to happen in September, I don't think will happen because New Zealand themselves will be playing Australia in September. They're playing a 3 T20I series then. So I don't see New Zealand coming to India in the same time frame. So knowing this, Neha, do you think then Hemlata, even if she goes on to have a mediocre Asia Cup, do you see Asika straight away coming into the World Cup squad, or do you think Hemlata might hold on to a position as the incumbent?
Yeah, I think this one's a tricky call because I mean, just looking at Dylan Hemlata's form in that Bangladesh series, she did fairly well. Getting those few important cameos. Strike rotation, acceleration, and perhaps those surfaces kind of it was tailor made for her batting, so to say. But then will Yastika make it immediately into that playing 11 is something which is contentious, right? I mean, even her run with Mumbai Indians this time around was not bad. But then again, the spot she played was different, right? Because number three is a very important area, and I hope the Asia Cup does give us some answers going into that World Cup, and we don't have to bring in changes like that. And I think the domestic season will also like commence during that time. I think we have some tournament that's scheduled during that time, during like September or so. Okay, maybe not. I thought maybe we could probably test out a few players there as well, just for like form and everything. But then yeah, I think the Asia Cup will give us a larger indication of how things are panning. But right now, from the looks of it, I think Hemlata will get the go ahead and will probably occupy that number three slot. And yeah, that's how probably things are going to pan out.
But again, Jeet, we also need to understand that Asia Cup performances will have to be taken with a pinch of salt. Agar Thailand, Malaysia ke samne agar aap century मारते हो, even Pakistan for that matter, no disrespect to the sides themselves, there aren't too many good bowling attacks. Probably Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and neither of them are a part of India's group. Or semis or finals mein kya hoga nahi pata. So given that, how do you look at this? Like, it is going to be a very tricky situation. So do you see Hemlata sealing a spot for the World Cup if she has a good Asia Cup, or do you see Astika sort of being slotted back into the World Cup squad straight away?
I think it's very unlikely for Yastika to make it through now because had she been fit, it could have been a different thing. Maybe she would have been playing these games after Richa Ghosh got the concussion. So I think India will stick to Hemlata. Like Neha mentioned, her performances against Bangladesh in Bangladesh also were really, really good. So that's something you need to factor in as well. That she knows those conditions, she has done well over there. So why do you need to change that? So I think they will give her a longer stretch, irrespective of how she performs. I know after she was out of the squad, but both how team balance ka issue tha. But come the Asia Cup, I think she would probably be back at number three. And irrespective of how she performs, I think India will stick to her. It will make a lot more sense as well because, again, I mean, with Yastika, the problem is she also relies on conditions that are still flat enough. If they are flat, if she's opening, she's going to give you that strike rate of 120, 130 in this format of the game. But वो Bangladesh के tracks पे, it's very unlikely walking in at number three for her to have a similar impact. So yes, she's a left-handed batter walking in number three, which is a good thing. But can she have that impact that she has had in the WPL as an opener on flatter pitches? I don't think so. So why not just stick to somebody who has worked over there, and that is Dayalan Hemlata. So if you truly want that left-hand matchup, if you want that left-hand batter to be promoted up the order, Dipti Sharma is an option. You can always ask her to bat up the order, but also give her a clear-cut instruction that please bat quickly. You're there to take on the spinners. Don't take a lot of time to settle down. Just take on the game, give us quick runs. That's it. So that message has to be very, very clear. But yeah, coming to your question, I think Dayan Hemlata, at least for me, gets the green signal.
Fair enough, and Deepti Sharma is also not a bad shot. I was just thinking that probably a very left field choice would be if someone like a Kanika Ahuja had been fit. But again, all those experiments had to be done in this series in the Asia Cup. Given that the Asia Cup squad's also out, I don't see India sort of making any more changes to the side. So we can say that India have all but confirmed that Hemlata will most likely bat for them at number three come the World Cup. So fair enough. You can't sort of really see too much or look too much into it. One last bit of formality, of course, and after that we'll take the comment and a couple more things to discuss. Top performer of the day. We've gone with Pooja Vastrakar, 4 for 13, including the big wickets of Anna Bosch. There was Nadine de Klerk. There was also, of course, earlier on Marizan Cup. A solid spell for her, solid series for her with the ball in hand. We've spoken about how Renuka Singh Thakur hasn't really shown up. It was very important for Pooja Vastrakar to sort of hold her hand up with the ball in hand, especially given the kind of balance she offers. She is a very rare commodity in the Indian domestic circuit, so it was important for her to be in form. We saw कि ODIs में ball के साथ भी उतना चला नहीं था, and now given that how crucial it was for India. Neha, let's start with you. Solid spell for her, and a much needed performance from her.
Certainly, because I think for a very long time, India did need that pace bowling all rounder, someone who just inspired confidence, got you wickets, can, be handy with the bat as well. And Pooja Vastrakar was the answer, for the longest time. Then we had injuries plaguing her career, which, of course, kind of halted her progress. But now that she's back, with full fitness, we see her contributing in every match, be it with the ball or with her fielding, or sometimes even with the bat. So in that sense, she can be that X factor for India going ahead as well. And when she's in full flow, there's like no stopping her. She gets you those wickets, is bowling those impressive line lengths, is challenging the batters as well, and is being used up front in the power play, which is definitely a good sign, because then you're not relying on like Renuka as, your pace spearhead and someone who will get you those wickets, because you have Pooja operating from the other end, who can come in and do that job. So in that sense, I'm very impressed with the way Pooja has progressed so far, and I hope, she can keep up this performance as well, and the inconsistency doesn't creep in. So far, so good. Yeah.
Fair enough. And Jeet, with what Pooja Vastrakar has to offer, both bat and ball, it was very important for India to sort of see her do well with the ball, given that Bangladesh में शायद एक ही पेसर की जरूरत पड़े. So if Renuka is not bowling well, they'll have the luxury of just fielding four spinners and just hold on to Pooja as their only pacer.
And Vandana, of course. But
Yes.
at least in this T20I series, for me, the brightest spot, of course, was Pooja Vastrakar, because coming into this particular series or this particular format, she was the one that I was concerned about, because it had been a long time since she had an impactful performance. You know how important cog she is for India, knowing that she is a pace all-rounder who is a very, very important commodity in any format of the game, especially for India. And in the WPL, if you look, it was very similar. Mumbai Indians had a horrible season this time around, and one of the key reasons was because Vastrakar was failing to perform. She was literally the worst bowler in the entire season for the Mumbai Indians, averaging 35.8. So she was struggling to put in those performances, and her lack of impact was actually a huge reason why Mumbai Indians struggled, is what I felt. So it had been a long time. It was right from that point in time where I was starting to realize that, you know what, that she started to struggle a lot in this format of the game, and she was not really being able to get those wickets. Batting to ठीक है यार, इतना chance ही नहीं मिल रहा है, but it was with the wickets, with the ball, that he was actually failing to have the impact. So that is where I was really, really concerned coming into this series as well. So she was that one bowler that I had my eye on, because you can always leave out Arundhati, you can leave out Renuka, but the one pacer that is going to remain in the side is Vastrakar. So for her to perform is extremely, extremely vital. And this time she has done that. So that is, for me, the brightest spot that we can take out of this particular series. The fact that she got 4 wickets in this game is equivalent to what South Africa took in the entire series. Of course, they just bowled twice, but totally वो लोग के 4 wicket थे पूरे series में across the 2 games in which they bowled, which is what Vastrakar got tonight itself. So again, fantastic. The control was something that was key. Like other pacers, she was again relying on the wobble seam, and she was getting the job done. Tight lines, bowling stump to stump, and the wobble seam did wonders for her. So I'm really happy. I just hope that she has some game time come the Asia Cup with the bat as well, so that we know where she stands, because she's also important for India as a finisher. We cannot keep relying on Richa Ghosh to get the job done every time. It's always that combination of Richa Ghosh and Pooja Vastrakar. I'm not counting Deepti Sharma as a finisher, but we know Vastrakar has the ability to find boundaries. So it's that combo which is important. Ghosh is firing, Vastrakar hasn't got chances. So this Asia Cup, I just hope that he's promoted if need be and gets that game time with the bat.
It'll be very interesting to see now, given that Pooja has already shown कि boss वो वापस है form में, and Asia Cup भी अभी क्या, Asia Cup begins on the 19th of July, just 10 days away. So it'll be very interesting if she is able to hold on to that form of hers. And for all you know, the Renuka Singh Thakur debate, the Renuka or Arundhati wala debate, probably will just be moot. They'll stick to another spinner instead of her, given how many spin bowling all-rounders they do have in their armory. Jeet spoke about how South Africa just took 4 wickets, which is what Pooja did in the last innings, and that's what South Africa did across the series. Neha, India के बारे में तो बात कर लिया. What about South Africa? That they don't play a lot of games now, entering the World Cup here. So in the next 3 months, at least no tours scheduled so far, none being played at home as well. Do you think this 11, I know Maizan Cup's bowling will sort of only get better. She will go strength to strength from here. Chloe Tryon herself will also sort of go from strength to strength, given that both were sort of coming back from injuries and whatnot. But how is their 11 looking right now?
Yeah, I mean, although South Africa ended up on the losing side today, we shouldn't forget the kind of performances they put in that first T20. Right? Again, they look like a very clinical and well-oiled unit. The form of Tasman Bridge, I think we should talk about her, right? Akshay, I think you would be happy with her, just stepping up and delivering, because wow, I mean, her form through the series, 153 runs. I think she's been in stellar form. This is something South Africa has wanted for far too long. Consistency from her, so that has been, I think, a big positive for them. Even Marizan Cup, I mean, we've seen her always step up with the bat and deliver, but this series, she did step up in that first T20I, but again, things didn't exactly go according to plan probably today as per the expectations. Even Laura Wolfard's captaincy, right? Like, she's been doing a decent job marshalling her troops well and making the most of all the resources at hand. South Africa does seem probably a little low on confidence probably after this game, and going back home they'll have to play a few practice matches. I hope they kind of host those matches. There's probably a few domestic tournaments also that could help them figure out other combinations. But I think all in all, yeah, this unit does look settled, and again, the nucleus will remain the same going into that World Cup as well. And I would never write off South Africa. The kind of players they have, they will just find ways to come back. And yeah, expecting them to put up a good World Cup showing, and I think they will take their lessons from this series.
It'll be interesting, right, Jeet? Because if I remember it correctly, Group A and Group B in the World Cup, how they sort of structure themselves, South Africa will be a part of Group B with England, West Indies, Bangladesh, and Scotland. So again, won't be easy for them to make it through to the semis from there. They've got solid sides against whom they'll have to do well. How do you see the squad all in all sort of structuring or developing come the World Cup?
I think the big challenge for them is going to be the game time. Now they've got a significant gap because I don't think there is any South African player who will be involved in the WCPL. There is, I think, Marizan Kaap and Laura Bulpart who will be a part of the 100. So I think that's pretty much it. So how they keep themselves busy, how they keep themselves in form is going to be a big challenge. But this T20I series gave a massive indication as to where they are looking at Suneli's. I don't think she's going to be a part of the 11 anymore. I think that was very clear cut. She was they on the bench for all three games. So I think that's a very clear direction that we could see now. Besides that, I think it's a decent looking playing 11. I'm not too sure about what will be their final score, but it is a decent enough 11 across all these three games. You could see them having the bases fairly covered. I know bowling they were very short because, of course, Marzan Kaap also is not rolling her arm or bar in this game. So you have your main pacer that's missing as well. I know there were talks about CSA, potentially getting into the ears of Dani Van de Kerk and Shabnam Ismail to, make a comeback and come out of retirements. But I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But anyway, it's a squad that they have at hand right now. And I know they'll be low on confidence. Again, the batting will be challenged. In this particular series, all three games it was Tasman Bridge was his top scorer. Besides that, Carp had contributions here and there, and Laura Woodward showed intent, which was again very, very important because I think she recognized that, hey, you know what, I and Tasman Bridge both are like slow starters and we are not able to capitalize on the power play. So she took over the mantle of scoring runs quickly, and in the bid to do so, she got out. So at least her intent tha, which was very, very important. And Tasman Bridge has runs behind her back. So these are a few positives. Scarp always is a positive, so it doesn't matter whether she's in form or not in form. As an all-rounder, she's always going to be a huge, huge figure in the particular side. But besides that, she's got a good company as well in Nadine de Klerk. I thought Aneri Dirksen was a big positive. I know itna batting nahi mila, but those three shots in last game to cap off the innings with 3 fours, I think were, at least to me, very, very indicative of the ability she has. That batsman was terrific. So they have it well rounded, but I know gaps are being bought there. But again, the challenge from here to the T20 World Cup is going to be the lack of game time for the players who won't be involved.
Fair enough. That'll be again a big challenge for them as well. Importantly, setup bhi kaisa hoga because Dylan Dupia was sort of signed only for this tour, specifically interim head coach ke taur pe. So it'll be interesting ki wahan pe kya hone wala hai. Will they stick to him? Do they come up with changes? And like Jeet mentioned, not a lot of them will be getting a lot of game time. Although they will be hopeful because WCPL maybe so far only the Knight Riders have announced the squads. So no, all three squads are out. अरे भाई तो फिर मैं ही I thought I'd seen only the Knight Riders squad because okay, so I might be
So
wrong on
no
that.
South Africans, I
No
believe.
South Africans.
Yeah, there is no one. Yeah.
In that case, so yeah, they can only be hopeful for 100 contract. But it'll be interesting कि वहाँ पे क्या होगा in terms of how their squad is also uh, going to perform, given that they themselves are in a transition phase. A lot of players have retired in the last year or so, so a lot of new players being blooded in. So it'll take them some time. Hopefully, if not this edition of the World Cup, then the next. So yeah, fingers crossed with them. Let's just take this comment before we wrap our review up. Ganadipan Rout. I hope I'm getting the pronunciation right. I'm really sorry if I've butchered it. Thoughts on keeping Shikha Pandey out of the team? So this is an interesting point because even yesterday during MNL, I spoke about how last year India Bangladesh gayi thi or Sri Lanka faced a snub there, and the CPL gig came for her calling. This time around, Shikha Pandey again extended. ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ ये series है, but for an extended period, she sort of had to face a snub. And now again, once again, a CPL gig comes calling. So clearly, international sides, international franchisees are taking note or taking stock of what's available in terms of talent. Not sure what's happening back home over here. But again, Shikha Pandey out, guys. What do you make of it? I know Arundhati Reddy's done well. And I know Pooja Vastrakar, I don't think anyone's sort of debating her position in the 11. But do you think kahin na kahin Shikha Pandey probably at least deserved a spot in the squad, if not the 11 itself? Jeet, you can probably start with this.
I think deserved is not a question because she definitely deserved, and sadly, it seems as if the ship has sailed a long time ago. Because irrespective of how many times she performs in different competitions, she's not being looked at for some reason that is completely unknown to us. So I'm not too sure about what's really happening. She has definitely deserved. Let's face it, she's probably the best pace all round that we still have in India. I know India के लिए नहीं खेली, but she's still the best pace all rounder in India, and that's it. Full stop. So whether she deserves it or not, that's not really a question. It's just that there's something that's happening that we are not really aware of. Age also is not really something that's completely against her either. So that's not an issue. Experience to hai itna. So it's very hard to comprehend as to what's exactly happening or what is the exact reason why she's always overlooked, and something we'll probably never know. So even if she performs in this WCPL, I don't see how things are going to change for her. The fortunes did turn around for Sri Lanka. I don't see that happening for Shikha Pandey because it's not that iske pehle competitions where she hasn't delivered. She has delivered, yet she has faced a snub. So I don't see how things are going to change. But it's, I think, like I said, the ship has badly sailed for her, and I don't know why.
All right, okay. Jeet has probably already signed off on that debate there. But Neha, what do you make of it? Because do you not see a fairy tale comeback of some sort for her, in the Indian side, closing that arc nicely? None of that's happening?
No, I mean, as an optimistic Indian fan, I definitely hope for that sort of a comeback. I mean, every single time you think of Shikha Pandey, you think of those deliveries to dismiss batters, those lovely in swingers, and just the kind of story that she's had, right, to become a cricketer, and everything is just remarkable. And yeah, it's just very shocking why the selectors keep overlooking her. I hope this WCPL can, be that catalyst and a reminder of sorts of why, she's still relevant and is wanted by other, overseas leagues. But we don't see it here. Even I think, playing for Goa as well, right? She's been very consistent, leading them beautifully, scoring runs, picking those wickets. It's really shocking why she's still not like anywhere close to a call up. I don't know what has happened. She's not the kind of cricketer, who goes and like tweets rubbish and then, gets overlooked because of that. I hope with the new coach and the new management at the helm, we'll see some change and possibly, her getting a call up. If not to the playing 11, at least to the squad because she definitely deserves to be there. And yeah, if she makes it into that playing 11, I think, yeah, it's that, it would be a remarkable comeback and something I think a lot of fans will be very happy about.
Yeah, definitely. In case people were questioning her credentials, both on the field and off of it, I don't think anyone can. A solid person, a solid human being as well, also part of the Indian Air Force. I was just going through some of the numbers. An average of 21.9, a bowling average of 21.9 after having taken 75 wickets. Boss, that's no mean feat. You've played 50 odd games. It is unfortunate for sure, but yeah, let's hope she gets to sort of fulfill that dream of hers, and that arc gets the well-deserved need I mean, end it deserves. Sorry. So yeah, I mean, fingers crossed on that. Last bit though, last bit before we end, of course, we know what was announced just a couple of hours ago. The new era beckons is how everyone is going gung ho about. Guys, Gigi is back in business. He is going to be a part of Team India going forward. There's so many big tournaments coming up. There's of course the BGT, then there's the Champions Trophy, and then there's the World Cup, and so on and so forth. What are you looking forward to? यार गौतम गंभीर आ चुका है बॉस वहां पे जीत.
I'm looking forward to an aggressive brand of cricket. That's all I really want. I know people are worried about the transition from an uber cool Rahul Dravid to a hot and flamey Gautam Gambhir. But let's see how this pans out. No, it's a very different thing. It's a very different side or a different coach with a different mentality that we'll be getting now. So why not just wait and watch how that's going to go about? Because we know that guy has the tactical know-how. He's really good as far as that's concerned. His coaching staff also, I read a few things about whom he wants on board. So it's still an exciting phase irrespectively, despite people's skepticism about quite a few things, including how is he going to gel with, say, Virat Kohli or a few of the others. But I think he's always mentioned that he always stands up for his team as a coach or as a mentor. It's these fights have always, or these altercations have always taken place with the player from the opponent, never with his team. So we might as well potentially see Gautam Gambhir take a stand for Virat Kohli in the future. So irrespectively, and even jokes apart, I'm more than happy to have Gautam Gambhir on board as compared to a few of the other names that are floating around to take over as head coach. It's a new direction, new era. The young guns coming in, and I feel he's going to be a good particular coach to actually have for India.
All right, Neha, what about you? The Delhiite in him, do you see him? Do you see that part of him coming out in clash of egos and whatnot happening at the Indian dressing room?
Absolutely. I mean, the man wears his heart on the sleeve, just gives it back to the opponent and anyone, who's just going against him. So I'm very excited to see where he, takes the Indian team because Rahul Dravid has set that base, ending on this fairy tale note with the World Cup win. Now with Gambhir coming in, he's been a former player, a celebrated player, so to say, with just so many runs. And one thing that probably eluded him was captaincy, but now, with this head coach job, he can probably, fulfill all of those fantasies he has as well. And even the kind of rapport, he'd share with the younger players is going to be very exciting. At least from all the interviews and everything we've heard of, from that KKR dressing room, I think, yeah, it's all looking very positive right now. And I hope we don't see some very radical things and him, just leading the Indian team in the right direction.
All right, fair enough. Just like how parents try to live vicariously, through their children, you might see Gautam Gambhir, the coach, vicariously living the dreams of Gautam Gambhir, the player, through his team. But who cares? As long as India is able to fill their trophy cabinet with more trophies, with more silverware, I don't think anyone's going to complain. Anyways, that's that from our coverage. As far as the India-South Africa tour is concerned, the Indian women next go to Sri Lanka. So will I. Of course, yours truly will also be in Sri Lanka come the 19th of July. So, of course, they will be there. That's the Asia Cup, of course, from the 19th to the 28th of July. They will be there. We will also be here, of course, covering the Asia Cup. Sorry. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's a Tuesday night, kya chal raha hai, boss, but even then, all of you peeps who've joined us, who've listened to us, who've asked us questions, thank you so much, guys. We will be back soon. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Have a great evening and have a great night.